I was good, everyone. Welcome to today's market and possible trade recap. This is the trade that I unfortunately fumbled and ended up missing out on over $200,000. But as I said before, there's no missing out in trading. There's always going to be another day, always another week to trade. So we'll go over how this setup presented itself. In my opinion, the cleanest day we've had this month by far. So let's get started. So first off, we have accumulation pre-market as per usual. Now we have 9:30 open. We initially open up into this 30-minute unfilled gap. Also, you can see that if you go into a lower time frame, in this move up, we have this retracement, and you can see that we ended up tapping into this ABS level. And that sponsored this move lower. Now, if we were about to go lower, my main draws were gonna be London and Asia on ES. So you can see that we had London lows right here, and we had Asia lows right here. Now on NQ, London was protected for me. So if you look at the 4-hour time frame, we had this 4-hour gap, which was unfilled, but then London ended up taking it by one tick. Now, usually, when London taps into a high time frame key level, like a 4-hour unfilled gap in this case, and rejects off of it, this is a London reversal, New York continuation. So I was expecting to take continuation longs back to all time highs. Now, usually I like to see a deeper tap. If it's one tick, it's kind of messy because mainly on, it's contract rollover week. So you never know if this is an actual tap. So I was kind of unsure about if London was actually protected, but it was. And then once we do sweep Asian London on ES and we have this external SMT with both London and Asia, we also have this retracement up on this move down. Now, a lot of people were asking about how I place my fib for ABS. Usually, to make it very simple, the most common example would be when we have a move that taps into a key level. So in this case, this move formed the SMT with London and Asia. So this is a high probability move down. You can see we have this single retracement. So that would be where we place our fib. Now, as you can see, in this move down, we tapped into the 2.5 level, which is the highest probability ABS level, by a tick and immediately rejected from it, as you can see. Now, at this point, I thought, okay, we might reject from it and get long opportunities. And this is a perfect example of an entry with a rejection. In ABS, you can have multiple types of entries, so you can enter off inversions or just the rejection. This is a rejection type of trade. So usually what you do here is you go to a very low time frame and you try to find like an inversion or a change in state of delivery. So if you look at the 15-second, we had this inversion, and once we closed above this, we had this CISD. Now, if you're gonna enter off rejections, you have to be super quick or you're gonna miss it, and it's kind of what happened to me. I wasn't too confident about the CISD. Of course, we're talking about very low time frame here, so it's super easy to get stop rated. And then we can see that we had this move down. We formed an internal SMT with this low, and then we rejected from this order block, and this ended up being super bullish. Now, if you waited for a higher time frame inversion, you'd have probably not gotten a nice entry since we pumped like crazy. But this would have been the most optimal entry. Now, at that point, if you wanted to get a safer entry, like a more MAC setup, you would have waited for the highest time frame inversion in this leg, which in this case would have been this 5-minute gap right here. And I really wanted to see this inversion happening in this candle, but as you can see, we ended up going all the way to this rejection block of this week. We rejected off of it and we ended up not closing. Now, one thing I also said on yesterday's trade recap is that you know it's a good ABS setup if the breaker gets validated and respected. So ABS is anticipatory breaker strategy. So that's the main point of the strategy. So if you get this last candle including the wicks, that's your bullish breaker. And as you can see, after we tapped that rejection block and we didn't inverse the 5-minute, we tapped into this breaker. Not only that, it also aligned with this 4-minute unfilled gap here. It's pretty small, but still there. So we tap into it, we respect, and we immediately reject off of it. And then at that point, we inverse the 5-minute, but then it's a super bad close. Maybe you could have gotten a 1-to-1, but I'm not a big fan of that. And then this ends up sponsoring this whole move back to all-time highs and data highs at 8:30 also. So huge target, very nice entry, and just overall very clean price action. Now, this trade I would rate it very highly. Probably an ace trade if London was actually a protected low. As I said, I wasn't 100% sure if it was protected, mainly because contract rollover week. Sometimes we'll have this low tapping into the 4 hour, but you look at the last contract, NQU, and it didn't. So I was always unsure about that. But even then, super nice setup, pretty much zero drawdown, 9.2 RR. If you wanted to, you could even place another fib in this retracement down. That would be your B leg of a bearish breaker, and you could have target even higher deviations like this one or this one. But I mean, all-time highs and data highs is a huge target already. So yeah, super nice trade. Could have made a few dollars on that, but always gonna be another opportunity. So I feel zero FOMO, zero emotion, zero need to force trades. Done for the day. I stopped looking at the charts immediately after this trade played out. But yeah, hopefully after FOMC, PA is back. So we'll see how it goes the rest of the week and next week too. And yeah, this is pretty much it for today. See you all on the next one. Peace.